And we're back with our guest. We had a very long music break because
But it was
because these two were reacquainted themselves.
These two being Janet
were
and
my
Rosario.
boss and the guest were reacquainted
Here's the deal,
themselves.
everybody out there. Rosario Casas is a friend of mine. She's one of the women whom I most admire. And she knows it. I tell her this all the time. We met through Foro de Presidentes, thankfully. And Rosario is one of those people who she can't sit still. Her brain never shuts off. She's always doing really cool stuff. And one of the things that she does that's really cool, I mean, talking about this now being International Women's Month, talking about
March, yes.
women in STEM. We have the STEM tour coming up here at which is Education USA at the Colombo. Of the women in STEM who I really hold up as an example is Rosario Casas.
Thank you.
And I'm not the only one.
I know. Why hadn't you invited her previously?
Yeah, well, we did, but we were trying to make sure that like everyone, all the stars would be aligned, and the mini moons and stuff would all be aligned. Rosario is the co-founder of VR Americas, which is an American-Colombian company that specializes in virtual and augmented reality, and we're going to talk about what the hell that means in a little bit. She's also the co-founder and president of Business Creative Partners. She's also the co-founder and partner of Four Dimensional Quotient, a coaching company. She is on the Big Data and AI Advisory Board of Rutgers University. She's a member of We NYC Mentor. She is basically she's pretty much everything. But not only that, in 2017, she was named one of the top 100 top world disruptors in New York City by the World Summit on Innovation and Entrepreneurship. 2019 named one of the 5 legendary women of 2020 by Ford Motor Company, and selected by the Oboe Movement as one of the 100 innovators of 2020. And yes, she's here at CCA Radio. Welcome. It's so good to see you again, my friend. I haven't seen you in ages.
Thank you.
Chat a
It
lot.
is my pleasure.
First of all, talk to us about your companies. Talk to us about VR Americas. Talk to us about Business Creative Partners. How did you even get into virtual reality, augmented reality? Because that's not what you studied.
No. Well, maybe I will go back to where I started. When I was a teenager, I was dreaming to be the president of Colombia. Then,
I wish.
then I studied political science.
Okay.
Major in economics, whatever. And I started my career working in anti-corruption, public issues. And one day when Colombia started to change, back in 2003, 4, 5, I decided that maybe it was not to be a president what I was looking for. Maybe it was to be part of the private sector, helping the public sector, the government, from the creation of jobs, from the private, purely private practice, creating initiatives that could be productive, but at the same time that could be solving global problems or people's problems in a way that it could be more efficient than being a president. And for sure, well, the big difference between
And a lot more
private
freedom. You have a lot more freedom in the private
That's
sector.
my
than you
point.
have.
In the public sector, you need to do only what is regulated, and in the private sector, you can do whatever is not forbidden.
Whatever, yeah, if it's legal, if you can do it, if it's legal, do it.
Yes,
Uber.
then I did the change, but of course I was not prepared for that. Then I did an MBA. I trained myself in the things that I was not yet prepared, and I started Business Creative Partners, the consultancy company. And that company, the idea of that company was supporting foreign direct investors in their landing process in Colombia with strategy, planning, and operations setup. Kind of in an investment banking boutique plus an operational consultant.
That was like 17 or 18 years ago, so you were pretty young when you did this. How did foreign direct investors respond to this super young obviously super smart, but super young Colombian women helping them out.
I don't know, but it worked. I don't know why. No, I think I was never working alone. I love to do with the things with other generations at the same time. Then my team was also had very senior people, also more younger people. But I don't know. We started by referrals. A client was bringing the next one, and I was just leaving. I was chief of staff for Lina Uribe, the Colombian First Lady, prior to creating my company. And I think I was in the context of that people who was changing the country, who was promising that next country, and I started my private practice.
And it was a great time for foreign direct investment in
For
Colombia.
sure. And then back in 2013, Silicon Valley company arrived to my consultancy company. They were they were acquiring a small Colombian operation. They were doing big data and artificial intelligence. Not now. 2013, it means it was like talking about teleportation at that time. It's not like today that everybody is talking about machine learning and so forth and so forth.
Well, no, and artificial intelligence at that time it was really in diapers.
It was very early. It was a very early moment. This company was doing amazing things, and we started the advisor process. And one day they offered me to be a global CEO, and I accepted. And that's how I moved into technology.
And one day they offered me to be a global CEO. Boom.
And I accepted with one condition at that moment, and it was to keep the headquarters in Colombia, because of course Colombia, you have few opportunities to tell some stories, and when you really connect the dots between a country that was just building a new environment and so forth, plus a state-of-the-art Silicon Valley company doing very cool stuff and very useful for businesses, when you are connecting both things, having the story from Silicon Valley, being told from Silicon Valley, was like, okay, another Silicon Valley company. Telling the story from Colombia was like, something interesting is happening there. And that was my personal bet there. I was with them 2 years, almost 2 years, and one day I left. Well, the company was not mine, unfortunately. And when I left, my husband, some months later, my husband was appointed into a new job in New York, and I did the sacrifice to move to New York.
For you. So you went, okay, so you moved because your husband had a pretty important job to go to in New York. But you didn't just go to New York and hang out and like go to lunch and go shopping.
No,
What did you do?
That was the point. When I arrived, I had my personal question was, I can come back to finance and consulting, or I can start a new business in technology. I was already completely in love with technology, state-of-the-art technologies, and I started really learning about that. And at that time I called a former client of my consultancy company, and I told him, well, I'm here, let's see what we can do together. He's one of my co-founders today, my B.Casas Americas co-founders. And basically from there, we were building a company in a brand new industry, helping to shape an industry. I know it's ambitious to say that, but I really think we are giving value to the industry.
But you're not a programmer. You understand the technology, but you're not a programmer. You're a business person.
Today,
or are you programming
I'm
No?
a developer. I'm a backend girl. Completely. I challenge myself to learn how to code and to learn how to develop the products. And and that's a very interesting point, because one day back like in 2016, one of the first meetings I was having, telling the story of B.Casas Americas, what we were dreaming to build, and the guy in front of me, Ivy League guy, very technical background, and he told me, well, but you are not a technical co-founder. And I was very angry,
Good for you.
I was, but he was, that was correct, that was real. Then I arrived at home and I was like, no, I need to start learning how to code because I'm angry, but that's true. And
So do you feel like you needed to learn to code for yourself or to have credibility as the founder of
for
B.Casas
myself.
Americas? Okay.
Because I was really enjoying the part of building the product. I was not the one coding it, but I was the one. I was very involved with the team developing the product. Then And one day I realized, no, I really like this. I want to be a technical founder. I have a big gap to reach, but I really want to be there. Then that's how I started to learn and build.
From political science to coding, that's pretty crazy. But tell us about VR Americas. You're back here in Colombia now. What does VR Americas do, and how? Because I think there are still a lot of people who think, okay, artificial intelligence, and we're talking about algorithms, we're talking about using that to sell products. But what about VR? How does VR affect the average person? People sitting at this table, how are we affected by VR and AI?
Well, then I will.
How much time have you got, right?
I will start by explaining what's that. The first, there are like 5-6 key concepts when we are talking about what we call immersive realities. That's the aggregation of all these
That's
technologies.
both. Okay, so both things.
Immersive is virtual reality, augmented reality, 360 content, mixed reality. And this is a complete universe of, well, now the new name is like spatial computing.
I was going to ask you, spatial computing.
I saw that. I put it.
Then,
No, it says it there.
but I will
spatial
arrive
computing.
there.
What the heck?
There it
I
is.
will arrive there.
Spatial computing.
I wrote it down
highlighted
too.
it. I highlighted it.
And that's
is the
very
key
cool.
word. That is
And
the
that's
key
a key
word.
thing,
That
yes,
is
for
the
sure.
Key word.
I will start by 360 content. What is 360 content? Is a picture or a video that is all over around. You are taking the 360 image, you are taking it into a digital device. It could be the Facebook wall and the picture that you can
That you can move around.
yes, or it could be a video that you can use in a headset.
Okay.
Or in a mobile, like a magic window that you move and you see the other world inside of the phone. That's 360 content. Second thing is virtual reality. Virtual reality is like 360 content, but completely digital. It means it is interactive. Also, you can do things with that content. You can interact with. It's like a video game.
Yeah.
When you are inside of the 360 content, you can interact with it, but it can be animated content, like a video game, or it can be real content, real life content. I take this environment, I shoot the video of this environment, and I place it inside of the headset. But the person who is the user can interact with the content. I can, for example, let's imagine that I'm inside of Cartagena in 360, 360 content, and I want to convert that into a virtual reality experience. Then I integrate new layers of interactivity. It can be that when I'm tagging I'm pointing something, an explanation of it appear. Or it can be that I can activate different sounds when I'm touching one object or the other with the controllers.
Okay.
That's virtual reality.
So that's being completely
Isolated.
immersed
Yes.
in the environment.
You are completely isolated inside of the digital content.
Okay.
Third option is mixed reality. What's mixed reality? Mixed reality is like virtual reality, but having the context of where you are physically. It means a room, then you can walk into a space without, well, yes, having an accident, any type of. And then you go to augmented reality. Augmented reality is like when you can use glasses, like simple glasses, or, no, well, not simple, but they seem like simple glasses. You can use your phone, you can use any other device, but it's an invisible layer of digital content that you place on the top of the real world.
Like what Iron Man has inside his helmet.
Yep. Yes.
Great.
Or like, do you remember how is the name
Google
of this movie? The English spies with the regular glasses that they see.
Which
Kingsman.
Kingsman.
Yeah.
I love Kingsman.
That
It's
type
so
of
funny.
glasses, that type of glasses is very similar to one in the market. The name is Nord bifocals, and it's really cool because the market is really going there. What's spatial computing? Okay, because now we are jumping into this
All
category.
these are, yeah.
All these are part of how we are building the world of spatial computing. Spatial computing is the tool where we can duplicate the reality with a digital twin. where we can do different things. Then spatial computing is all these technologies, is virtual reality plus augmented plus artificial intelligence in many cases, where you can integrate like a real world activities in a digital world. It means, let's imagine this, and I'm well, now that we are having this image, I'm a medical doctor. I want to do an intervention to a patient, and I can use the glasses to see some content. How I can see that content there? Because there is a software developed in a spatial computing environment, placing the content that I will be seeing, understanding where is the patient, and understanding the interaction between the real life objects, the human, the medical equipment and things, and me as a medical doctor. All that is not yet 100% reality. All of us who are building this industry know that there is no standard yet. It means we are trying and testing things that work, but in a controlled environment. How it will scale? That's, well, of course, for many reasons is, I don't know, well, I will go to the Moore's Law theory. That's the reason, Moore's Law is the reason why today we can have a mobile phone with the same computing capacity than the computer that NASA has when the man arrived
They went to the
moon.
moon. We talked about that last week.
Yes. Then there we are. The technology is advancing every day. 2 years ago, the headsets were very expensive, very bulky, uncomfortable. Today, you can have very nice things at a very affordable price.
But you know,
Or you can make them on the maker's
but
space.
my son,
get there.
at my son's birthday, like a year ago, he got a virtual reality headset. And I was like, oh my God, how does this work? And he's like, my kid, oh mom, it's wicked easy. You have to download this and you stick it in the headset and there you are, virtual reality. The first time I saw virtual reality,
That
I
was
was
a
with
Samsung
you.
year, I think.
I was with you in a meeting. You were
Yes.
explaining how to use AI, augmented reality, virtual reality for business people. And I want to go into that.
Yes.
There are businesses that are now like not just medical companies, but businesses that are using virtual reality for training their employees.
Yes, and
Talk
that's
about
one of
that.
our obsessions. Well, in training it is very useful, especially when there are like two lines. One is the line where it gives you efficiency in terms of design. Let's say Audi cars, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche. They are simulating environments.
jerky drivers?
Yes, that's why and they are designing the cars in a way that they are seeing the car, the real scale, the real perception of the car, the pieces, whatever. They can try, test colors, and simulate that. That's very efficient. You can use that for many other industries. But the case where we are more concentrated is where you can simulate at a very affordable price environments to reduce the risk of accidents and the cost of lives in industries where life accidents are happening. I mean, let's say the electric and energy repairing industry.
Cost benefit.
Yep. But now the technology is arriving to a point where it's affordable. It's possible to train bottom level of the workforce with these technologies. It's not anymore a luxury thing.
And that's something you talk about a lot. You talk about
Yes.
training the base of the pyramid.
Yes.
In using virtual reality to train the base of the pyramid. Why is that so important in your business
For
future?
me, well, there are two reasons. One is my personal reason. That's the type of impact I was looking for when I was dreaming to be a president. I was trying to have better quality of life for the people, more opportunities, more possibilities. Then it's like I'm already in the path of what I was looking for. But the second reason is a business reason, and is not possible. I mean, I don't think as humanity we can afford to be thinking or to have the conversation on how we will be replacing people by computers, because the majority of the workforce needs a reason to contribute to the society. Otherwise, if a person is not having a space in the legal world, they will find a way to contribute in any other space, and that's not what the world needs. Then, if we find ways to convert this participation of the base of the pyramid their training process, their daily training process, plus their daily job on the ground job. And we can convert that into a system that will give business intelligence for the companies. They will be more valuable collaborating with the machines than only having the machines. And that's part of our challenge. It's a small challenge, you know?
I'm pretty interested in the training section that you're mentioning, and I would like to know, like, could you please exemplify how this training goes? For example, with one specific example of one group
Sure.
of people that you train to do something specifically. So how does it work? Or
Let me go, for example, let's imagine a truck driver for a very specific industry like cement. Okay? I don't know if you know, but cement is if you are delayed in the traffic, it can be completely lost.
Yep.
yeah,
Then the process of the checklist when the driver is going to the car into the truck, when the driver is driving to a place, and how they are dealing with the delivery of the cement is very sensitive. You know. Then if we train the people, and then let's say we already have the content for training this type of drivers. We have the company. The company gives the drivers their headsets. They train and learn the checklists. Not just as a theory. They are like seated in the car, in the truck. They are seeing the things. They are understanding the processes. As a simulator for aviation.
Like the way pilots have to train on
but completely
simulator.
affordable. It's very affordable. Is in a way that the truck driver can be at his home training, and the system is capturing the results of the person, the time the person is training, the attention he was delivering or not, what the checklist was expecting him to deliver, whatever, all the process. And when the person is going to the truck, if he has any doubt, he can use the augmented reality application before doing the mistake or committing the mistake. Then we are mixing both analytics, and we are really having a system or a complete information about this driver is or not the correct driver for this type of trucks.
And at the
If
same
he is
time,
not,
he's
he
getting
needs to train more.
experience. He's getting
And
experience.
he's getting the experience.
and are we at a point in which this is cheaper than having drivers like driving actual rear cars? Is it cheaper, or what spectrum do we?
If they don't crash, yeah.
I mean, it is if you see a complete yes. One is accidents, but the second one is the regular way to train one of these type of very operational jobs is with the expert on his side. Then the cost of having that person on his side is more expensive than just having the person at any place with the headset already, and the content is scalable. At the end, is the same process for almost everybody in the same level.
And that's really cool because you think about those sort of simulators for pilots or for surgeons but when you bring it to a more operational level,
kind
Yeah.
of jobs.
Yeah.
Let's imagine the people keeping the electric grid working in the cities. It's a lot of people. There are a lot of accidents, and it's the same process that they need to repeat time after time. And of course, the training is more funny and is more cool than just having a person letting you know. Well, this is there is also something interesting there. The things that are invisible for your eyes in a training, but that you can show in a training like this. Let's say electricity. When you are explaining to the other person, be careful because if you touch this, you will receive an electric charge. While you can show, you can make the person feel that when he's training, but it's not real. Then there will be no accident.
he'll be shocked but not electrocuted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then the perception of something vibrating there is already in your brain. How we learn. Our brain works in a way that basically any experience gives us a neural pattern. You know, you have the neural pattern and you start learning and you repeat, then it's like underlined. And when you repeat and repeat and repeat, like when we are like brushing our yes, then it's like a regular thing that we can do in an automated way.
It includes many different processes that can be several parts of spatial computing.
Sure. Then what we are trying to do is to have the person repeating and repeating and repeating what is not yet working for him.
Which is a lot safer. Think about
Yeah.
my eldest son is about to get his driver's license. And it's when he was taking his classes and everything, and then he's like, okay, Mom, okay, we're in the neighborhood, can I drive home in the neighborhood? I was like, well, okay. And he gets in the car and he put his foot on the gas and was like, whoa. After you've been driving for a long time, things are just automatic. Like you don't even realize that your hand, if you were taught to drive in the United States, that your hand is automatically hitting that turn signal. The amount of pressure, the taking your foot off the gas,
Yes.
it's all automatic. And it's a little scary to think that my kid is doing that, in a 5-ton car. How cool would it be, for example, for teenagers to learn to drive in a simulator to really, until they get to the point where it's imprinted on their brain
That's
rather
it.
than putting them on the road. And
Boundaries are-
Also with real life content, not with animated content, and that makes a difference in your brain
Yes.
because that way you are clear that is not a game; it's a serious
It has
thing.
consequences, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and with it becoming less and less expensive, because to think about this 15 years ago would be like, you're crazy, that would cost a fortune.
Yeah.
But it's becoming less and less and less expensive.
Let's say one good headset 3 years ago it was $2,500, and today you can find a very good headset for $300. It's less than a phone even.
Yeah.
It's really
Something
cool.
really nice is, was, for example, training for the US Air Force, and they were also having these simulations, but also they were checking different measures of the pilots. So they were checking the place they were looking at or their measures of their heart rate. So
That's-
you can combine several aspects in only one. So
Yep.
it is not only having the experience of driving or
Having the
flying,
final result is the process.
the process, they
How
can
I'm moving
check,
or
measure.
not. Yeah.
Exactly,
That's why that's exactly where the analytics, the advanced analytics, play the big role there. How we can convert all that data into actionable insights for the business, for the companies.
Which was what the first time I saw you speak, that was about how can we convert all this data into something so that I can make a decision about what we're going to do. It's not about my gut instinct says that the client wants this. It's about all the information that I have that's been digested and giving me the idea. I want to jump from that into the idea of STEM and of women in STEM. I know that you in New York City were working with mentoring young women.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that experience and what have been the barriers to girls and women getting into science and technology?
Well, I had the fortune to have a very good school, to be in a very good school. Then I have I have a love for numbers. I mean, I really love numbers and math. But when I was deciding what career to study, I decided political science. And I will go through the answer by my personal, but criticizing myself. And when I was in the university, the majority of my elective classes were math. I took all the calculus as electives just to improve my average, maybe. But why I didn't selected engineering? Because I never had an example, a role model of somebody who could be like a person to follow, in those terms.
Women weren't engineers.
Yeah, I was not surrounded by, or I never had an example of a woman I admired doing technology, building stuff. And I think that when I really met that world and I found that opportunity, I get engaged with the possibility that technology has to scale solutions. And that's really where, of course, technology is very cool, but cool for what? No, that's the question. Then it's not just for fun, but for scaling solutions. It's the best way to find new ways to solve the problems of the humanity in health, in education, in whatever you want. Then the day I realized that I should be helping younger women and girls to have a model. and not only me, to try to connect them with the possibilities that this brings. And well, when I was learning coding and all those things, I was involved with women tech makers, a Google movement. I learned coding by their programs, then, and I found that is very important. It's part of what we are building. There is also something really interesting, and is the use case of the technologies. If the technology is only created by men, it will have their perspective of the solution and the use. Then we need the same amount of females and males working in the technologies in a way that it will be answering to what we really need. From another perspective, and in terms of all the solutions that will be built with the advanced analytics, with the artificial intelligence, these systems are trained by people, by real humans. It means when a system is selecting or deciding based on the data, it was trained by a person. Mm-hmm. Then we need women and men, all races, all ages, whatever, to give their contribution on how the data should create insights or how the system should create insight from the data. That's also part of it. It's also a good business to have more females.
Do you see that changing? Because there's a lot of talk about the bro culture, especially in Silicon Valley. I mean, when you look at what happened at Uber, with the head of Uber being taken out because of what seemed to be a pretty pervasive environment of machismo and even sexual harassment. You look at other big tech companies who've had these issues. Did you experience that bro culture, and do you see it changing?
No, I experienced that, and of course, it's difficult because in many cases also we have a joke we have two jokes with my co-founders. Both of them are males. One of those is Latino, the other is purely American. And one day we were closing our business. I was preparing the business case. I was dealing with the client, and the client was a purely white American old guy. I mean, purely that culture.
Yeah, the stereotype American.
Yeah, purely, yeah. And when I arrived to the office, just ready to close the business, he was telling me, well, I need to talk with the technical guy. And I was, well, what's your question? No, I will prefer to talk with the technical guy, wah. And I was writing in the chat with my two co-founders, hey guys, I need any of you in the phone because this guy needs to see that there is a man behind this. And my technical co-founder, Tom, was in the phone. He spoke with the guy, and at the end he told me, the guy told me, we are ready to close the business. Let's sign, we are ready. And Tom was writing me, don't close that business. This is super machista, wah. And I was like, no, let's do it. And I will be the one visible for him when we are deploying the project. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way to change the stereotype. And of course, when we are arriving with my other co-founder, Lucas, who is a very good commercial marketing person, he's not technical, and he don't want to be a technical. That we were doing here in education, there is a very curiosity, but there we are located in an incubator for the ed tech, basically in the ed tech hub of New York. Then we are seeing many other people using the new technologies, not only virtual reality or augmented reality. There is a very cool company and very cool product using augmented reality for kids as they want to be with their phone or whatever. That's not that good. Then how we can convert that into a learning experience? Then basically this is a window to see the world and interact with the real objects of the world with a layer of educational content. Those type of projects are happening. We were also doing a test. Well, I learned English as an adult. You can notice my accent will not change.
Most of the things that you've done, I mean, usually you would say, yeah, I learned it when I was a child, but then you've learned a lot of things
as an adult.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but I think it was my school. It was the way I was educated to learn how to learn. That's big part of the key thing. I love to learn. I learn very quick, it's true. But But well, that's the world we are living today. We need to be like this.
So that's where education has to start, with teaching kids and adults, in the case of adult English, how to learn to make the learning process that much easier. And I think that
Yeah.
that's part of the success that we have here at the Colombo with you guys
Yes.
in what you're doing.
Yeah, and changing like the regular standards of how you have to teach by yourself. Like, usually, yeah, I'm not against book, of course, but some people think that teaching yourself how to learn, is like taking a book, filling the grammar chart, then completing some exercises, and that's learning. And that's something that we need to start changing, like as teachers, and not only as teachers, but as a society, we can help people through technologies or through different fields on how to do things differently than the way we were
A
taught.
big groundbreaking, using VR.
That'd be awesome. Imagine Colombo
We
with
have a
VR.
test that we can try.
And last year we had the experiment, which was kind of, we had been planning to do
Yeah.
it, and we were forced to do virtual
Virtual
classrooms.
classrooms.
Because of the situation with marches and the strikes in Bogota,
Sure.
we couldn't stop our program. So we took the decision at 9 o'clock one morning, that's it, we're going virtual classrooms. And it worked.
It worked.
And it worked pretty well, and it's something that we're going to launch in terms to have more flexibility for our students, flexibility for our teachers, and it's not something to be afraid of. And literally at, I think 11 o'clock in the morning, we told the teachers, you guys, we're going to virtual classrooms, here's the information, deal.
They were-
That's,
There was some panic, but
Yeah,
but we had to
we were
handle
kinda
it
freaking out, but it
calm,
worked.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
totally
it worked, and I think that that's also a testament to you guys, and
How well
especially
prepared
our
they
younger
were.
teachers, and they were just like, okay, well, let's do it, let's jump in, which part of, I think, what your success is, you aren't afraid. I'm gonna jump in.
no, but it doesn't mean I'm not afraid. It means I
Okay.
love that to take the risk.
You take the risk.
Because it's the only way to confront. You know, it's not. No, it's not that I'm not. Let's say, for example, when it was very funny when I just arrived. Well, I learned English when I really learned English with the discipline and everything when I was appointed as a CEO for Sensera, the big data company, because I realized that in a board meeting is not enough to have a so-so English. I should defend my ideas in a very good way. I should be clearly managing the company in English, not in Spanish. And that was the moment, I took the risk first and then I executed. Of course, I accomplished, and when we arrived into New York, few months later, a person who is already, is now a very good friend, she invited me to talk at an event she was organizing at the Samsung Accelerator. And I was like, no, I never, it's like, my grammar is not good enough. And she was like, no, you know your topic very well, then let's come and let's try. And I was like, well, yes, it's true. If I fail, what?
You're gonna
I will
learn.
improve. I already know what I don't have in the level that I want. Then it was interesting. The last year, for the first time, I wrote a complete article starting in English from scratch, and I published it. But those are daily challenges that for a person who is not native in English, and also understanding the importance of English in the current world.
Yeah.
It is not possible anymore to be only a Spanish person.
But that's also going back to, again, women in tech, women in looking for different positions. And this is something I think I've talked about on the show before. There are studies that have proven that a woman looking at a job listing, if a woman looks at the job listing and goes, okay, check, I have this, ooh, but I don't have this. No, I'm not going to apply.
Women only apply with 60%
Yeah.
of the requirements.
Men will do it. Okay, I can do 10 requirements. I got 3. Go for
Yes.
it. Women, we tend to have more trepidation, or to be really worried about, do I have everything
Do I
that
have
it
faith?
takes? And what we need to learn to do is, well, maybe I have 3 out of the 10, but the other ones I can learn.
How can I build this?
Yes.
So, and that's something we have to instill in our girls and our young women, to be able to take those risks. And yeah, okay, maybe I don't know it now, but I can learn.
Yeah, also creating in the organization the culture that that will allow failing as a part of it. You know, it's fine if you don't know something.
Uh-huh.
You are not the dumb person if you ask a question. It's fine to ask. It's fine to say, no, I don't know how to say this. Please help me. I don't know how to develop this. Please help me. Because otherwise, what's coming from the changes of the technology will make us crazy.
And or pass us by.
Or, yeah.
Well, we could talk forever. I'm getting the eye from our producer over here. We just want to remind people. One of the reasons that Rosario is here is because she's Rosario. But also, we're talking. We're in March. It's the month that we celebrate women's achievements, and we've got some achievements to celebrate. But also, next Monday, we'll have the STEM tour. Here in Bogota, we have our Education USA program, which is part of, it's a U.S. government program to promote people from Colombia to study in the U.S. And we do several different university fairs. And this fair is specifically for programs in science technology.
Wow.
And it'll be taking place next Monday at our Calle 100 site, which is Calle 98, number 1732, starting at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. If you go to the Colombo website, you can check out the information. You can pre-register and see and talk to a bunch of representatives from top universities in the U.S. about science and technology programs. So
That's really cool.
young women, young men, whoever you are, come out and find out what the opportunities are, because there are plenty of opportunities. And just because you don't have a whole bunch of money doesn't mean you can't study in the U.S., because one of the things that we do with Education USA is help students to find programs, to find financing, to find the scholarships that you need. So come out and maybe we can talk Rosario Casas into being there and inspire
there.
people for this. Thank you so
No,
much.
thank you.
It was so cool to see you.
Thank you. No, same. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's have some music.